Hello, Natroners, and welcome back to another episode of VFX with Natron. So, today we're going to be looking at a topic that a lot of people really like, which is making God rays. You know what God rays are? Those are those sparkly little things that come out of the sky, through the clouds, look really pretty, and a lot of people use it on titles and things. And so Natron has a God rays in it, but it's the default God rays is node is a little tricky to use, and it can be very difficult to control and get it to do what you want. For example, you can't force the rays to move in directions that they wouldn't naturally go all the time, and well, there's all kinds of wee bitty issues with it. It's really designed to work more like real life does sometimes. Anyway, and it's also kind of on the slower side. So today we're going to explore. Oh, and there's one other thing about it, which is it doesn't have particles, which, as everybody knows, everything looks better with particles. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to look at a shader toy node that is going to allow us to do the God ray effect a little simpler. So, right, let's first look at what we're going to be doing. So today's goal is this. All right, and with that done, what I'm going to say is let's take a look at what we got here. All right, first thing we need to do is put in some text. And today we're going to be using a font I made ages ago, and it's available, and I've used it in the past. It's called Vecs. It's a vector graphic font, or it was designed to be a vector graphic font for use in video games and whatnot. It's I consider it open source, so and it's available on my Google Drive for people to download, and I'll include the link later if you haven't gotten it yet. It's always available. All right, so let's put in a text node to start with. Text. And then we're going to switch, of course, to Vecs, which is down onto V. And there we go. It's very, very, very thin. Excuse me, I'm quite a wee bit of a cough. All right. So we're going to set it to center interact. We're going to set the font size up to 110. I believe I set it to ultra heavy for my weight. That way we have something to work with, because as I said, this is designed to be a vector font, which means it's very, very, very thin. All right, I'm just double checking. Oh yes, and the last thing we want to do is we want to give it a color. We're going to pick this yellow right here, I think, to start with. That's close enough. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. All right. So, this is going to be our foundation. Normally, a lot of times you guys have seen in the past, I don't usually color me fonts until after I'm done. In this case, it's so simple. We're trying to treat this as sort of a yellowish, lighty source. I actually think I do want to just up this value just a wee bit more, so it's a little lighter. Maybe well, that ought to do. That's pretty good. So all right, and if you don't know what I did, I'm just pointing out. I just took it from 0.2 up to 0.52 5. It was basically this was down at 2, and I brought it up to 5 there, just in case it was behind my face. All right. So the next thing we need to do is, of course, we need to create we're going to actually use SE noise. So we're going to do an SE noise. Told you guys we was going to use SE noise a lot. And we're actually I'm thinking in either this coming Saturday or the following Saturday, we're going to actually start exploring the thing about the the stuff behind SE Noise, aka SEEXPR. Just so you guys have a heads up. I don't know if we're going to do it next Saturday, but anyway. We're going to just sit here and we're going to go over into the SE Noise, and we're going to set it to a type of cell noise. We're going to set the size down to, let's take a look at it so we can see what's going on here. We're going to set it to a size of 10, and you've all seen this before. We're going to take the Z slope this time, which is, as we know, is a ramp. That determines how fast the Z0 is going to push it through and make this change. So we're going to set this to 0.08, which is fairly steep. It's not as steep as some of the past ones. We're going to start it off on frame 0, or excuse me, on frame 1 as 0. So we're going to set a key here. We're going to go to the last frame, and we're going to set the Z0 to 2. Whoops, to 2. And that gives us this lovely little pattern right like this. And that's going to form all these like little bitty ghostly patterns that change in our God Rays, so that it looks like stuff is happening, so it doesn't look static, just like static light beams going through. All right, so that's what that's for. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the excuse me, I've got a nasty little cough right now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put in, actually we don't want to hit that, we're going to just hit M for merge node. We're going to merge the text over this, and we're going to tell it that we're going to color burn this, alright? And when we color burn it, it's going to basically turn it to this, and this is going to be the source for our light. Now of course, or for our God Rays. Now of course we're not actually, well, it'll become apparent. Alright, so what's the secret sauce to making the God Rays themselves? Well, that's actually pretty simple. In the community nodes, which you should have downloaded by now, and if you haven't, go do it right now. I'm not waiting for you, but you can go do it. Follow along, you can rewatch this later. We're gonna look for I think it's called circular blur. Oh no, it's radial blur, excuse me, radial blur. There it is, radial blur GL, which produces this lovely kind of strobing effect here. And you're saying to yourself, wow, that doesn't look a whole lot like God Rays. I mean, it kind of does, and it kind of doesn't. All right, so what are we going to do? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we need to match it so that this center point here matches the ROD of our view, and because this is 1920 by 1080 and we're going to have the text in the center. Now we can animate this, but for right now we're going to just keep it static because this is just demonstrating how we're doing it. All right, so we're going to set this, and all we have to do is take our resolution, which is 1920, and we divide it by 2, and that gives us the center point there. And now that's in the center. Now we take our vertical resolution, and we could put in an expression here to make it dynamically. If you want, you could put an expression that dynamically derives this from your render or from the output format. If you get into expressions, I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Anyway, we're going to take it 1080, which is more vertical. I'm going to divide it by 2, and that puts it right behind it. And now I'm just thinking about this. Is that what I did? Actually, no, this is the end. That's right. We want to first, we're going to put it, we're going to keep it, I'm just thinking about this. All right. Well, first things first. I just want to check my example just to make sure. Yes. All right. So what we want to do is, for now, we're going to, I'm going to set this to 0, actually. And I'm going to take the samples up. I just want to make sure of something. I want to take my samples up to 200. Which, well, alright, just so we understand what this is doing. you can see that when we have this at a very low number, this is how many times this is repeating this effect. Okay, and we're starting it off at basically, well, we're going to start it off at this is very strange. Hold on one second. I just want to verify. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to take it to 0 at the and we're going to go back to frame 1. All right. For the amplitude. Amplitude is how far out it's going to be coming from the text. All right, so we're going to be setting a key here on this, and we're also going to set a key on the Y to 0 as well. We're going to set a key, and that's the two things. So this is its position, its physical position, where it's going to be going to. It's going to take this and push it in a specific direction. So right now 0 is, I believe, up. So if we just now if we increase this in a positive direction, whoa, that's not what we wanted. Wow, that's really weird. Oh, it's because we're doing a positive. We're not doing it in a fraction. It's 0 to 1. As we can see, as we take it in a negative direction, we have this issue. Oh yes, and there's this other issue, which is edges. The edges are repeating themselves. So as we bring it up, we want to get rid of that so it doesn't repeat. So we just take it and we say clamp it, and there we go. That gets rid of that. But this amplitude right now, it's pushing it behind the text, which would be great if it was if the text was coming at the screen. We could use that to, you know, have the God Rays follow our text, sort of uses it as a trail. But what we want to do is actually take the amplitude in the opposite direction. And so what we're going to do is, again, back at 0, we're going to leave it at, or back here at frame 1, we're going to leave it at 0. And then for, let me just double check something here. I want to go ahead and at frame, right, we want to set our increments. Oh, you know what? We're just going to go up to frame. Yeah, we're going to set the increments. I always like to work in frame, in skip. I always skip by loop or amounts of 24. So we're going to skip ahead 24 frames. And we're going to set the amplitude to, instead of positive, we're going to set it to minus 0.6. All right. And you're saying to yourself, whoa, 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 whoa. 0.5, 0.6, which, as you can see, takes this last bit of it. And yes, that's what our samples are for. So we keep increasing our samples, and what we're going to do is increase our samples until it's way bigger than what we actually have. And you'll notice our slider here only goes up to 64, which is, you know, it's pretty good, but we can still see the things, and I want this to be a lot bigger. So I'm going to just set it to 200, which guarantees I'll have a nice, smooth, solid transition on this. If you do it at higher resolutions, you may have to increase this even more. Just remember that every time you increase it, it'll add to the render time. But it's not that significant because this is GLSL. All right, so here at this point, we wanted this to be -6. We can see that it's not quite reaching the edge. So we're going to take it to -5.6. There we go. It's past the edge. We're going to set a key on the 0. And then what we're going to do is we need to have our original text unmodified, this text having this come out of it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just say we're going to add a merge node after it, and we're going to just break this off because we don't want our this chain off to the right here going through this. We want it to come off here, and we're going to take the A input and connect it so that the above is the actual things. And this is going to put our God Rays on top of it. And there we go. We have our God Rays. Now we want to make that come down to the bottom. So all we have to do is, I believe I went to the last frame. I'm going to just double check, make sure we went. Nope, I went to frame 145, which is a few skips ahead. Let's see, we're at 145. And at 145, what we're going to do is simply take this, the Y value for our, go back here, make sure this is visible. We're going to set this to 1080. All right, and that pushes it to the bottom, because we're actually working in this in reverse, because the reason it's working is because the positive values are up here. If this were actually good, which would look like it's coming from behind it, but if we do it in reverse, obviously up is down, so bigger number, so 1080 is going to be the bottom of the screen. So here we go. If we just play that, bum bum bum, we have a very, very, very fast, and we can see how the SE noise is making the God Rays very, very fast. This is so much faster. This is, you know, than what we would have gotten without this, and or if we had used the regular God Rays, this would have taken significantly longer. All right, but I said we was going to do particles as well. Well, we're going to do that. That's easy. But how do we do it? One of the big problems we have is we can't really use, or we could, in theory, sort of make a mask out of this and do some particle system. We're going to do that, but we can actually, there's something already built into this that's going to make it a little bit easier. So what we're going to actually do for now is we're going to clone our radial blur and our SE noise. I'm going to take it, and so I'm going to hit Alt K and create a clone of both of those. All right, and up here for the noise size for the SE noise, I'm going to unlink that. And as you know, all the clone is it's a complete. It has every attribute linked, and we just unlink them so that we can modify them. And on this clone, we're going to set the value to, wait a minute, oh, I got the wrong thing here, to 4. So we want to set this to a size of 4. And just so you can see the difference, we'll go over here. This is before, and this is after. So we've shrunk it down, so it's much smaller. Those are going to be our particle sizes. In fact, for this video, we may even bring it up to 6, just so that they're really visible. Actually, no, we're going to keep it at 4. And then over here, what we're going to do is we're going to take our relink this to this radial blur to make a second version of the God Rays. But this time we're going to take this little attribute here called modulate and plug it into this SE noise. And then what that should do, if everything worked right, why am I not seeing it? Let me just make sure I'm getting... Oh, I know what's going on. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. Hold on. Am I doing the wrong thing? I know what I'm not doing. I need to do a few things to this SE noise. It's not coming through. We don't actually have particles. We haven't done the trick that we have. We need to put a clamp node, obviously. Clamp node right. And for this clamp node, I think I just set it, yes, to the typical. I set it so that it pushes our minimums and our maximums to black and white, no matter what they are. That means that when even though we're going to take this up to a ridiculously high value, that shouldn't be like when we push this up to 0.9, which looks horrible. Yeah, we'll pull it up to 0.9, and it's practically unrecognizable. When I hit clamp to minimum, it shrinks it back down so that it's black. And then I clip my high value to white. What we're going to put in here is 0.99, just to get, that's going to be our particle clusters. And then we'll go over to here to our God Rays, and it's still not working quite right. Why is that not showing right? Let me just double check something over here. Make sure it's looking right there. That's weird. Alright. It's coming in. Sassy noise. I think what the problem is... Let me just verify this. Hold on. Oh, I need to... No, I am getting something that's not right. I just need to check a setting here. We're getting something wrong here. Always double check our values. This is why I always keep the project open. I think something is not clamped or is not active that's supposed to be active. I'm just double checking. Oh yes, all right. We need to. I need to uncheck unpre-multiplied. That's one of the things. I think on my clamp node. Right. That's right. All right. All right. Pre-multiplied. Why am I not getting this out here? Are you? No. Boy, Natron's not giving me the same result. We all know what that might mean. Why am I not getting the result I want? Oh! I know. I know exactly what we're not. So, one of our problems, of course, is that our SE noise. We have nothing driving this, nothing setting the value. Oh no, what I did wrong. Very basic mistake. We need to put in a constant to drive our SE noise here in this situation. So we want to put this as a background, which should make this alpha. All right, that should work. Let me double check, make sure we've got everything set there. Size, centered, reformat. Right, okay, we are going to do... Oh yes, we're going to do... Wait a minute. No, we're still having a problem here. Something is very, very, very wrong over here. And I got to just double check what's going wrong. I know I had this working. Why is this not working here? All right, so let's just go over what the constant's for. The constant is going to be our thing that moves it down, so that when we transform this, we want to take our particles and move them down, so everything, or excuse me, up, so that it all makes it look like it's going. So we want to change it to a size, and then we're going to just multiply the height times 2. We'll deal with the other in a minute, which, as we remember from our previous time doing it, makes it work like that, which makes our field much, much bigger. And this is looking better here. Okay, now we want to put a transform below this, and we want to, of course, go to the first frame, and we want to take our translation and set it to minus 1080 to get it down. Set a key, and I think I just want to make sure I set this to the correct values here. So I wanted to, yeah, I did that, and then for the end, yep, I just set it to 0. All right, so we go to the end, and we set this to 0, and that, of course, is going to make this whole thing move up, so that we'll have our particles moving up. Then we need to, of course, we're going to run this through an iDistort, but we've got a problem here, which is our God Rays is not going through. I'm just double checking. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Modulate is not... I know why it's not modulating. Alright, on the second, on our clone, we need to unlink modulate. Unlink it, and then we need to check it. And when we check it, there we go. So now we have our modulated particles. We can see our particles showing up here. There's our particles. And if we just hit play, we can see them all moving up, all nice and pretty like, right? All right. So that's what I missed on that. And yeah, but now that we have the particles going up, we have a problem. We also have this text coming through. So we need to eliminate the text from this, which means we need to basically subtract the original, or this version of it, from this. So what we're going to do is do a merge, and then we're going to take that, and we're going to take this, and we're going to go from We're going to set the operator for this new one to from, which subtracts it from that. And there we go. We wind up with our resulting particles. So here's our gold rays. Here's our particles. And over here's our text. So how do we merge this? Well, we just simply, because this is Natron, we can just simply put this in over the other one. And now, of course, this is not bright enough. These particles are way too underwhelming at this point, and they're also not distorting. They're not wavering back and forth. So what we need to do is, of course, we need to, let's see, we need to put an I distort underneath here. I distort. There we go. Knew I made a mistake back then. Alright, so here's our I distort. So now, as we learned, we could do a whole fancy schmancy I distort thingy here, but, you know, I'm just thinking, for now, all we need is a FBM. So, you know what? No, I'm not going to go too crazy here. I'm just going to put another SE noise. And we'll put that SE noise over here because neither of the other ones are in an FBM type to distort it back and forth. And so we're going to take the FBM and let me get the settings all used for that. I'm going to set the FBM to 150. Let's look at what that looks like. So here's what our FBM starts at. We're going to set it down to 150. Oops, 150. So it pushes the stuff back and forth nicely. And we can also take that the gain up to 0.7, which, as we know, makes it a lot more dynamic. It gives it more darks and lights, so it'll make the distortion more evident. All right, so then we apply that to the SE noise here. We don't have to do anything else. That should make the particles move back and forth. The only thing left is, of course, we need to make the particles brighter, which means we need to put a multiply in here. So we're going to put in hit tab and put in multiply. I'm going to do a multiply color. And then when we, whoops, that's not what I wanted. There it is. There's our multiply. We take our multiply. Let's make sure we're viewing the output of the multiply. And the whole purpose of the multiply is so that we can bring these up so that they're a lot more visible. Because right now, our text is, we can see it here, but we don't really see those particles. So what we want to do is just crank those particles up a bit. And there we can see those particles. We're overdoing it right now just so that we're guaranteed we're going to see those particles in our video or in the live stream. Of course, bring these down to whatever value. This is user definable. I think I used 4 like I had before in the final version, but if you didn't see it, I think it might have been better to take it up a couple more notches. The other thing we need to do is, of course, we need to set the I distortion levels. Now, we know that I distort works. This is going to actually just shift them on the left, right, sort of, or on a diagonal back and forth, which it'll be fine for this. We just want a little bit of movement. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. They're going to be moving up. All right, so we're gonna set the UV scale to 30 for our distortion, and as we can see, it moves it over. But the big problem is when it moved it over, of course, it pushed, because it's distorting it away from its starting point, which is currently 0, 0, which is black. When it distorts it away, it moves it outside of a God rays, which is not what we want. We don't mind if they sort of drift outside of the God rays, but we want to keep them more or less inside the God rays, which means that what we really want to do is start this off at, we want this to start centered. We want to keep it so that it sort of drifts on either side around, and the particles for the most part stay in the center. So of course we're going to set this to 0.05 for the UV offset, and for both of them, and that recenters them all. And there we go. We should have, that's pretty much it. That's all we have to do after this is, of course, put in a glow to our final things. So we want to, let me just double check, make sure. All right, so there are actually a few more things we want to put in our glow. Let's put in our glow. Whoops. I didn't do a glow. I was in the wrong spot. I went into a channel. Don't do it while you're over the viewer, or you're going to shift to the green channel. Type in glow. We got a glow. For glow, let me get my glow settings. For the glow, I think I set the value to... Actually, I think according to this, I don't think I changed anything. Oh no, I did. I took the gain up. I usually do. Oh, whoops, we're scrubbing through time. Alright, we're gonna take our gain up to 3, so it's nice and bright. So it really looks like it's a light source pushing through. It also makes all our particles glow from the lights that are hitting them. Although we don't need to do that. We could, in theory, merge the we could merge this afterwards if we want them not to be light, but I want the particles to be visible to look, you know, it looks cool. Anyway, it's up to you, use a thing. So one of the problems that we might have here, and I think we do, is yes, our alpha channel. When we go to our alpha channel, we can see that we have our text, we have our the God rays. We don't have the particles showing because they're not actually working on the alpha channel the way we have it set up. We could do that if we wanted to, but for now, what I would recommend doing is we're just going to set it to this will mess up our output if we were to render this, because an alpha channel if we render it to something that doesn't have an alpha channel, like an MPEG or something like that, this wouldn't work very well. And this is being like, you know, anyway, that gets into the whole alpha issue we've already talked about to a degree. Shuffle, we're going to put a shuffle. Whoops, no, we're going to do shuffle. There's a shuffle, and here in the shuffle, whoa, that made something look weird. All right, I think something went weird here. Okay, so the problem is, or the problem appears to be, that when we did the shuffle node, why is that shuffling? Oh, that's very strange. Well, let's see what happens if we set this to 1. Oi, did you see how that got all wonky weird? I think that was just a redraw error, but you never know. Because of, or I don't know if it was a redraw error. And, oh yes, just so we can see what that did. We had A over here, and now we have a white alpha versus before it was not white. Until we set 1 is white. That guarantees that it won't render wrong. If we render this out, we'll see exactly what we've got. You can play with that as you want, mess with them. Again, if you want to get the particles over this, you would probably you would have to either use the shuffle node to transfer back over here. Let's go over here and look at our particles here. I want to go A. Oh, it says that there's alpha there. That must mean that our multiply, let me just see here. No, it says that they're there. So, oh, they are there. They're just very, 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 very dull. So, oh, that's because the multiply was not applied to the alpha. Haha. Which would make the... There we go. Alright, so if you apply the multiply to the alpha, you wind up... Your alpha channel will get it. So you could literally, if you wanted to put this over something, you could use it just like this, potentially. And you would wind up with something... Anyway... Nice. Holy smokes, that makes the oh, whoa, that really made them glow. All right, we're gonna bring this down a lot. I have a feeling I didn't do that. Let me just double check. Probably didn't do that in my original. Nope, I didn't do that in my original one, which would explain some of the issues I might have had earlier on. All right, anyway, so that actually makes it work better. There we go. We wind up with actual particles in it. If we don't want the particle, that's wild. Well, anyway, so there we go, that gets them. But we still have the problem, just to be on the safe times, we're pushing a whole lot of values up past 1, and as we know, that means if it's above 1 and we render out to a deliverable format like MPEG for going onto the web, that's an 8-bit format, what will happen is Natron is showing it properly. When we render it out to the web, it's going to look totally different, or there's a high probability it will. So we need to clamp this. So tab, clamp, and once we clamp it, we are done. And this should render out, and we're going to rewind this and just hit play. And the whole slowdown that we're seeing here is caused because of that iDistort. iDistort is distorting a texture image is fairly it's a difficult task, but as we can see, this is still rendering at a very, very acceptable rate. And I'm just double checking how long we've been running. Oh, 34 minutes. That's not bad at all. All right, and there we go. We can see the beginnings of it, and that actually looks, in my opinion, better than what I had before. I did the whole thing very quickly, and this was a whole thing. So there you go. Mistake I made. This is actually better than the one I originally made. I fixed an error I had that I didn't even bother to double check because it was just about showing it. It was supposed to be cool. And as you can see, all the blinkiness, all this, like, all the shifting of the shades that we're seeing in here, that's all caused by that SE node over here that's flickering, and we have animate, and that creates that really nice pulsing effect, so it looks like things are going in front of the lights. That wouldn't really happen if that was pure light. But a lot of times when we see it, we think of it coming through a window or something. And by the way, remember, you can just, if you want going in a direction, if you have a window off to the side, just have it and have the window off to the side and point your rays off to the right. You won't get true 3D effects out of this, but most of the time as you twist the stuff, it will probably look close enough. The key thing would be, if you do anything 3D, you would have to aim your God Rays, because they're not actually moving in real 3D, so to speak. But there we go. Oh, I like how that's looking. Oh, that's pretty darn sweet. Alright, once it gets, this is going to render pretty quick, so we're going to let this render out. I know, it's a live stream. But this is one of them, oh, what the heck, we're going to just, now I'm going to let it get to the end of the, at least till it gets to the bottom, and then we'll rewind it and watch it through. As you can see, this is really quick. It's one of the quicker effects, and it's real simple. And if you push your text towards the screen on a card 3D, for example, and if you did the card 3D, you would want to do it back here, by the way, because you would, I think, let me just, yes, you would want to do it back here before it gets into the text. You know what? I'm not going to guarantee it'll work with card 3D. I'm thinking of a potential problem that might run into, but for stationary lights, this will work really, really, really nice. For stationary text, give it a shot. If you do scrolling text, it'll work fine. Anyway, let's rewind it and watch what it looks like. There we go. There's our things. Much bigger particles, and bloody those are big, juicy particles. All right. So that's gonna be our goal today. Was, of course, this. Which we achieved and did potentially better. You can turn on or off that multiply if you don't want. So thanks for watching, and keep on Natroning.